Right.
I've just made a few notes, so hopefully can help you with BBC. So you've got through the application process, and it's the virtual interview and online testing. So that was the next stage for me. Obviously, it could be different, by the way. Bear that in mind for everything I'm doing, because it was last year. It was a different role, so I was broadcast systems engineer. I don't know what that is. I just saw the word engineer and applied. I didn't really care about it. But yeah, so I'll go through first the virtual interview and online testing. So with the virtual interview, we got emailed 3 questions in advance to prepare, and then we had to say them in the virtual interview, and we had 60 seconds to say each question. So first of all, in terms of the preparation, if you're getting sent questions in advance, then that's really easy. You can just spend time scripting it. You want to make sure you're scripting it properly to include as much detail, as much things as you want. You want to practice your delivery, making sure you use the full. And by the way, 60 seconds is no time at all. Like, it might sound like a lot, it's really not. Normally, virtual interviews, they'll give you 3 minutes per question, and to be honest, even at the end of the 3 minutes, you could keep talking. So even 3 minutes, to be honest, isn't enough. So 1 minute to answer a question for a virtual interview is absolutely nothing. So that's where it's going to be really important with those prepared questions, if they've emailed them over, is really try and script them properly so that you can get the most in at 60 seconds, because it's nothing. And then straight after the virtual interview was online testing. And now I don't actually remember what exactly the online testing is, because it was about a year ago and I've done so many and they all just blur into one. However, similar to Arctic Shores, I don't know if you've seen those videos, they sent me a report of my results afterwards, so that's why I know there was online testing, because I've got a report. And basically the 4 metrics that it gave me were, first of all, able to quickly switch between tasks. So that's the first thing you want to bear in mind when you're doing this, is it's going to be a couple of tasks, not just one. Just make sure you're staying sharp, staying really focused, and switching between them properly. And this is where I'd say something like, you want to make sure you're in a quiet space where you're not going to get distracted, where your mind's not going to wander. Maybe put some headphones on, don't listen to anything, but just to muffle out sound, maybe, if sound's a problem, because you need to stay really sharp and really focused so you can switch between those tasks. The next one was easily process and manipulate numerical information. Now this says 2 things to me, because there's 2 types of online testing that they can do to do with numerical information. Either it's fast-paced mental maths, so you're basically going to, for like 3 minutes straight, sums are going to flash on screen or whatever, and you have to type in the answer or click one of the multiple choice, and that'll be very fast-paced. That's what it could be. So you just need to, like, I don't know, practice your times tables or something, if you want to prepare for that. Or it could be like longer questions, not mental maths. It could be like data analysis questions, such as they give you a pie chart and they start asking you some questions, and that's where I just make sure you have a calculator and you're familiar with percentages and all that sort of stuff. So it could be one of those 2, judging, because that's what the numerical information online testing usually is. The next one was quickly able to problem solve your way through most problems. So again, just stay sharp, stay focused, try and do the task quickly rather than getting distracted. And finally, have the capacity to readily process complex relationships in your mind. I don't know what that means. That's a load of waffle. Hopefully that helps with the virtual interview and the online testing. 60 seconds is nothing, so make sure you script your answers properly. And with the online testing, just try and stay sharp, and what I can help you with there is there will be a numerical question in there somewhere, either mental maths or like analysis questions like percentages and pie charts. Moving on to the assessment centre part, I'm working on a video which I'm going to release probably end of December, start of January. It's going to be the assessment centre full guide. But let me just give you a few like tips here, sneak preview. So with the BBC Assessment Centre, with assessment centres, normally there's an interview, presentation, case study and group exercise. With this one, it only had 2 things, the interview and the presentation. Let me start with the presentation. So they call this a technical exercise. And it was very technical. For when I applied as a broadcast systems engineer, I didn't even understand the presentation, didn't even make sense to me. They could put something very technical in. I know people who have applied in years previous and they had very technical. So it seems like whereas other companies, the presentation, you can get sort of like normal presentations, like give us an example of how you'd improve technology, or tell us about the industry, something like generic that anyone can do. With the BBC, they seem to be very technical, very specific. So my one was about, tell us how our programs get broadcast, including talking about satellites and media stations and transformers and loads of stuff I don't even know what they're talking about. So just bear that in mind. It could be technical, which means you want to give yourself plenty of time to do research and make sure you know what you're talking about. So when they did it, they said do it for 10 minutes, right? And you want to make sure this is perfect. So you want to practice your presentation over and over and again until it is perfect on 10 minutes. And I do mean perfect on 10 minutes, because often, I'd probably say about 75% of presentations, they will stop you the moment it reaches 10 minutes. So it's not 10 minutes and then, okay, just get it around 10 minutes, maybe add 1 or 2 minutes, maybe decrease 1 or 2 minutes. No, it's on the dot 10 minutes before, yeah, it's on the dot 10 minutes, and then they just interrupt, they say thank you, and then they move on to asking you questions. So here's how I do it when I make presentations. I normally basically get a bunch of ideas, make a full presentation. Say it was a 10-minute presentation, I'd end up with a 15-minute presentation, and then I'd work out how I can optimize it and make it more efficient. So where can I cut down some stuff that's not relevant, because you still want to show that you know technical information. So keep the technical bits in, and then there's just some random bit that's not relevant, then get rid of that and basically optimize it until you practice it, and on the dot you're at 9:55, 9:55, 9:55. If you can get it 3 times in a row at 9:55, you're good. And also what might help is while you're doing the presentation, I would set up my phone with like the stopwatch setting showing, and it means I can track my progress, because the thing is, when you've done it so many times, you know that, okay, I've got to this section, I'm at 3 minutes, I'm on time. I've got to this section, it's 5 minutes, I'm ahead. I need to just slow down the pace I'm talking, because you can easily vary the pace you're talking. Try and talk slow. That's the thing. To be honest, in 10 minutes, you're not going to be able to get that much done if you talk slow, but that's better than talking really fast, because then you just sound, it's unprofessional. You don't have proper communication skills because you're just speaking really fast, and then it'll just, do you know what I mean? It's better to talk slowly and you have a good quality. Also in this presentation, alongside the technical knowledge, which is what they're assessing, and alongside the communication and presentation skills, you have the opportunity to show off other skills. For example, numerical skills is a straightaway tick box that I always put in every presentation. So every presentation I do, I always do a percentage change somewhere. So for example, when I was doing something about technology, I think it was like new technology in cars. I ended up talking about stopping distances, and I basically said this is a stopping distance at whatever speed it was, this is a stopping distance at another speed, and I basically just said this is a whatever percentage increase. It's a tiny thing, it literally will take you 5 seconds to do on the calculator and add to the slide, but just adding that percentage change in, it shows that you're able to manipulate data, you have numerical ability, and it just straight away gives you an extra tick box, an extra mark on the presentation. So if anywhere in your presentation you have some numbers, you might as well just whack in a percentage change just to show you know what's going on. So that's the presentation or technical exercise. And then the other one is the interview, and this is a strength-based interview, and I'm guessing it's just, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned, I didn't end up actually doing this assessment centre because I was busy. I had another assessment centre that day, so I never ended up doing it. But this is all because they basically sent me all the preparation material, so that's how I know all of this about what they were looking for in the presentation. So with this interview, I never actually did it myself, but from the description they said a strength-based interview, and that's basically what all interviews are. So they're going to ask you your motivations, why do you want the job, and then And they're going to go through and basically ask the questions: give me a time when you worked as a team, give me a time when you're a leader, give me a time when you came up with a solution, give me a time when you worked hard. So basically just prepare all your answers for that. It's just an interview. Then the final thing I wanted to go over was BBC values, because research is important. And if you can link these BBC values into your interview and your presentation, then that's cheat. That's a cheat code. That's getting you straight into the 1%. So yeah, let me just go through the values. So here are the values: audiences, creativity, trust, respect, accountability, 1 BBC. So audiences, I didn't write down what that was. I don't even know what they're talking about. Just have a look at the PDF. Then there's creativity, which is obviously about new ideas and perspectives, being innovative. Trust is about being ethical, impartial, and honest. Respect is about the team environment and bring your authentic self to work. Accountability is net zero by 2030, so sustainability is a big thing, and producing things of the highest quality. And then 1 BBC is collaborate, take ownership, embrace change, learning mindset. So if you use those values in your presentation and your interview, it's game over. It's game over for them. So for example, in a question, why do you want to work for the BBC? Don't just say, oh, I want to work for the BBC, blah, blah, blah. You can say, I want to work for the BBC because I know it's an organisation that values creativity, and I'm the sort of person who can bring new and innovative ideas to the... what's that phrase? Bring ideas to the forefront, I don't know. And then you can say, on top of that, I also respect the BBC's accountability promise and to be net zero by 2030, and I think sustainability is really important. I like the 1 BBC approach to collaborate and embrace change and have a learning mindset, because personally I like to be open to my development, and I have a growth mindset, and I thrive with working in a team, and I think organizations thrive when there's a culture of unity. Like, you can just say some stuff like that to link it to the values, and that research is 10 times more research than anyone else who's doing the interview that day has done, right? So say that and you're done. In your presentation, again, it depends what it's on, but if you can link it to sustainability, if it's a really technical thing about how can the BBC improve its efficiency in the process integration of how we perform programs or something, I don't even know what they're talking about. If you can just get a slide in there which is, on top of this, if we could also improve sustainability, I know that's a BBC key goal to be net zero by 2030, then it would help us with our social responsibility and accountability, and you know what I'm saying? So just get those values in. Yeah, that's everything. I hope that helps. Good luck with your application. Let me know how it goes. Yeah, cool. I hope this has been recorded, because this was a video about the BBC Degree Apprenticeship application process. However, if you're interested in finding out more about the virtual interview stage as a whole, or the online testing stage as a whole, then click the videos on screen right now for tips and strategies for approaching those.